I'd like to think I'm not naive. And I believe, I already see it. I mean, the immune system's response has begun. Like, I'm like an antigen, and the antibodies are already coming from the New York Times on down. Earlier this morning, the hit pieces are coming. My team was like, good job. They're finally coming after you. We were like, well, what took so long? But, it's only the beginning. Here's what I know. I know that they came for Trump. I know if you strike the swamp will strike back. But I'm not going to make it as easy for them as Trump did. Okay, I'm 37 years old. Like I said, I'm an outsider. I'm a millennial. I've got 2 sons. There's a standard I want you to hold me to. Is to say, probably the last president I would say this about was Ronald Reagan. President who I want to be able to look my 2 sons in the eye and tell them in good conscience that I want you to grow up and be like him. That's the standard I want you to hold me to. Okay, none of us are perfect, but if they're coming after you, you better be on unimpeachable footing at every step of the way. You better have a deep first personal understanding of the law, not just relying on the advisor class around you that was the product of that same swamp. That's part of where Trump got tripped up. Well, get technical. Positions like the Office of Personnel Management, who you hire and fire, who sets those policies. The Office of Management and Budget. One of the, I wouldn't call it mistakes, because maybe I would have made the same mistake at the same time, but I opened my eyes and I learned from it, and we're building on that foundation. What would I do differently? What will I do differently? The people I put in those roles aren't going to be people who act as ambassadors for the administrative state, sort of mediators between the outsider in the White House and the administrative state. I think that's who Trump had in those roles. No, they're going to be people who are bulldogs for my vision. Cabinet level secretaries, what everybody pays attention to. We got to pay attention to the plumbing of the administrative state, the OMB, the OPM. That's really what permeates the entire deep state apparatus. The people in those roles will be outsiders. Actually, several of them will probably be the kinds of New Hampshire libertarians you guys know in those roles, not in the cabinet roles, but the people who are fundamentally skeptical of the existence of those agencies. You got to have somebody with no doubt in their mind in those roles, outsiders to government, running the budgeting process, running the HR process. That's going a little bit further than Trump did. With my policy agenda, I'm not talking about just building the wall. I want the military on the border. When I'm talking about the Department of Education, I'm not just going to put Betsy DeVos on top and say that she's going to reform it, because you cannot reform that beast. I said we have to shut it down. When it comes to race-based affirmative action, it was actually created by an executive order. 11246 under Lyndon Johnson required any company in the private sector that did business with the government to adopt gender and race-based quota systems. Every president since Johnson couldn't have taken a pen and crossed it out. The one I would have had the most faith in to do it would have been Trump. I pressed his people on why they didn't do it. I'm quoting them exactly. They said, it's not a political hill we want to die on. And that's where I come back to what I said earlier. We only go so far with grievance and vengeance. When we're grounded on moral foundations, moral authority, and first principles, then nothing's going to stop me. And I believe that I'm guided by a sense of purpose. I am a person of faith. I do not apologize for that. My parents instilled that in me. It's not being done by you. It is being done through you. I find that liberating. Those aren't words to me. That's a way of life. And I think that when you're guided by that sense of purpose, when you stand on values that are consistent with those that you actually want to pass on to your children, yes, they will come for me. Maybe they're going to land with a few of the punches, but I'm not going to make it easy for them. And I'm going to go as far as I can in 8 years. That's the other thing I'll say. Is we're all human beings. I won't be the same person 8 years from now that I am today. Be more jaded, cynical maybe. A few extra pounds, maybe some gray hair. I like that. I'll start using the streaks too. And you know what the truth is, and I know the guy, we're friends. I mean, Trump is not the same person today that he was 8 years ago. And so at some point, we've got to each make our contributions, drop the mic, and move on. What did Trump do? He actually appointed some great justices onto the U.S. Supreme Court. Those justices now agree with my view on how to shut down the administrative state. We've studied them to a person. We win at 6-3 when the people in the Department of Education or the FBI sue us, and they will. Great, that's a good thing, because then we take it to the Supreme Court. We codify that in judicial precedent so that whoever comes after me will not have to suffer the same thing that I suffered, just as part of what I'm not going to suffer is less than what President Trump had to suffer, because we at least know what that problem was. That's how we think on the timescales of history. It's not about me. It's not about Trump. America First does not belong to any of us. It doesn't belong to Trump. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you. It belongs to us, the people of this country. So the question is, who in the next chapter is going to take that agenda further? I'm in this race because I will take the America First agenda further than anybody in either party in this race. And I'll also tell you this. We will unite the country as we do it. I know that sounds ridiculous. And there's days I'll wake up and I share your antipathy towards the modern left too, but we're actually citizens of the same nation still. I don't care if you're red or blue or green or black or white or whatever. If you share the same principles, the pro-American principles, we're on the same team. And the way we get to national unity is actually not through compromise. So some people think, no, I disagree with that. It is by being uncompromising about the principles of the American Revolution that set this nation into motion. We don't just start at the 50-yard line and call it a day. We start at one goal line, and we make it as deep into the other side's territory as we're going to get. We reunite the country. And in this election, it is vital that we not just win by a 50.1% margin. For a lot of reasons. One of them is that when I'm governing, we need a moral mandate to deliver the things I'm talking about. A 50.1 margin is not going to get it done. I think I am the only candidate in this race who can deliver a Reagan 1980-style landslide election. And it's because, you noticed it today, it's the same as the campaign trail. I don't talk about Republicans and Democrats. Talk about whether we are pro-American. Will we sacrifice and fight for the principles of this nation, or will we apologize for the existence of a nation founded on those ideals? Divided up that way, it's not 50-50. It's 80-20 in our favor, and half the 20 are people younger than me who never learned those ideals in the first place. We'll bring them along too. That is why we will win 2024 in a landslide election. I'm an admirer of the Reagan Revolution in 1980. In our camp, we joke around. It's the Ramaswamy Revolution we're looking to lead in 2024. That's what it's going to take, I think, to make the next leap in how we take this forward as a country. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate the honesty. Thank you.